So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our performance management webinar. Whilst we are still waiting for everyone to join us, you can kindly share with your other business partners or anyone in your circles that you feel that they can benefit from this webinar. Thank you. Thank you once again for everyone who has joined us. Brendmo is a dynamic and professional accounting firm based in Midrand, Johannesburg, South Africa. We do have branches in Zimbabwe as well as the UK. We call ourselves accountability partners, and we live by this daily. is Brendmo. We offer various services. We do offer secretarial services. We look at company registrations as well as company amendments. We also do management consulting, where we look at business processes. And for those without business processes, we help in the development of the business processes. We also offer performance management, where we align individual goals with the performance of the company. We also look at audit and audit readiness. We also offer internal audit, where we look at the internal controls of an organization, and we give assurance to the organization that they are performing as intended. We also do payroll services, as well as human resources. We also have tax services. We look at companies as well as individuals. We assist with the tax submissions. We also do complex matters, where we look at tax opinion and tax disputes. We also have accounting services, where we look at your financial statements. We do bookkeeping, as well as management accounting. We also offer virtual CFO. So as you see, Brendmo, we is a one-stop shop. There's a one-stop for us. We just, before I introduce our speaker, we're just gonna play a short video.
Are you looking for a trusted partner to enhance your organization's internal controls and ensure compliance? Welcome to Brendmo Advisory, where we specialize in internal audit, risk management, governance, and performance management services tailored to your unique business needs. Our team of experts is dedicated to providing comprehensive internal audits that identify inefficiencies and uncover opportunities for improvement. We help you navigate complex risk landscapes, ensuring your organization is prepared for any challenge. With our governance services, we strengthen your decision-making process, promoting transparency and accountability at every level. Our performance management solutions empower your organization to achieve its goals by aligning individual performance with strategic objectives. Join the many organizations that have benefited from our tailored solutions and expert insights. Choose Brendmo Advisory for a brighter, more secure future. Visit our website at www.brendmo.com or contact us at 011-0263-052 to learn more. Are you?
Our speaker for today is Ms. Carol Pierre, who's one of the directors at Brendmo Consulting. She's a seasoned professional with an industry experience spanning over 2 decades in management consulting, accounting, leadership training across diverse sections. Academically, Carol's credentials are solid. She's currently pursuing her doctorate in business management and entrepreneurship. She's also a global management chartered accountant, CIMA, and she holds an MBA. Carol's passion lies in empowering organizations to achieve their full potential. She's adept at harmonizing organizations' culture with effective leadership strategies, thereby enhancing overall performance and fostering a thriving working environment. Welcome, Ms. Lupie.
Thank you, Kuzai, for that warm introduction. As we get into the gist of why we're all here, we're going to be talking about performance management system, which is a holistic approach to organizational success. We are super, super excited to be spending this time with heavyweight
Apologies for the glitch. We're just fixing it in a minute.
One critical experience. So to show our appreciation, and I need you to listen very carefully here, to show our appreciation, we're going to give out 5 discounted tickets to the first registered participants to our jam-packed Leadership Accountability Accelerator workshops, which start next week. And then we will also give another 5 discounted tickets to the first people to submit answers to our quiz at the end of the session. So 10 lucky leaders will get to attend our jam-packed skills development. So ladies and gentlemen, can we just ask that everybody mutes, please? So ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for the opening of the vault. With that, let's get into why we are here. When you hear the word or when you see the word performance management, what comes to mind? For me, having worked in this area for a long time, I see that traditional performance management often views performance through a very narrow lens of outputs. For example, we'll talk about sales targets, we'll talk about project completion. Now, this output-driven approach neglects the importance of how goals are achieved, how employees show up to work, how the learning and agility must happen in an organization. And I've also noticed that traditional systems also involve feedback only at the time of appraisal, which can be a little too late for employees to make meaningful improvements. And sometimes also the fate of employees is left to managers who calibrate their performance in appraisal sessions where the employee has no say at all. And this delayed feedback loop can leave employees in the dark about their performance throughout the year, leading to often anxiety and disengagement. And so what we advocate for as we gather here together this morning is performance management that positions an organization, positions a company for agility in the VUCA environment. And I came across, I actually did a Google search for performance management, and most of the search answers that I was getting weren't really giving me what I was looking for. But I came across this definition from the HRIUS department that gave me I think, the best definition of what performance management is. So performance management system is used to communicate goals and objectives, reinforce individual accountability, underline, for meeting those goals, and tracking and evaluating individual and organizational performance results. So when you look at this definition, it gives me a sense that performance management is actually a partnership in which managers share responsibility for developing their employees in such a way that employees begin to make meaningful contributions to the organization. It also tells me that this process has to have clearly defined processes for managing people in a way that will result for success for both the individual and the organization. So this tells me, in other words, also that performance management is a deliberate, proactive construct which involves interacting of inputs, activities to get the desired outputs. And there has to be some serious maths here. So if you just look at this, you've got the inputs, you need the right inputs, which are your strategic goals and priorities. You add the relevant activities. Remember, or underline relevant activities. And these are specific actions and tasks that must be aligned with the goals. And with that, you get your desired output. Now, when I look at this, I actually want to believe that performance management is a system, okay? And a system is a whole, spelled W-H-O-L-E, that cannot be divided into independent parts. Now, that has some very, very important implications that are generally overlooked when we look at performance management system. I follow Roger Martin. I'm not quite sure how many of you leaders follow Roger Martin, but he's one of the world renowned business strategists. And he put it this way. He says, the defining properties of a system are total properties of the whole, which none of its individual parts have. Now, if I give you a very, very simple example to illustrate this point that you'd be familiar with, is a motor vehicle, a car. The essential elements or the essential properties of a car is that it can carry you from place to place. However, no single part of the car can do that. The wheels can't, the engines can't, the exhaust can't, but the total car system will. So the essential properties of performance management is to lead the organization towards achieving its goals. And then the environment within which these components operate, which we call in the business world culture, and the mindset that people show up with, determines the sustainable success of the organization. So if we complete our equation, you will find that the right inputs, right relevant activities, which give you the desired outputs, must be underlined by a specific culture. And what we found is that the best culture, or the most appropriate culture to get those results, is a culture of accountability. And so when you think about performance management as a system, you then begin to say you cannot take one from the other, because then you won't have the desired results that you want. And if you view performance management as just an employee monitoring exercise, you lose the essence of what it is. When other leaders view performance management as an HR exercise, it loses what it's meant to do. And on the other hand, even when employees view performance management as a whip for the company to dodge, salary increases, to dodge bonuses, it then goes south. So at the end of the day, you need to have all these components working together. Right inputs, what are our strategic goals? What are our priorities? Relevant activities, what should people be focusing on that will lead us to get the organizational goals and priorities? And then you get the desired outputs, which obviously must be underlined by a specific culture. In this case, we advocate for a culture of accountability. So as we move on, where do you actually begin in setting a successful performance management system? Where do you begin? We say you start with the end in mind, okay? What do you want to achieve? You want to achieve revenue, market share, efficiency. What inputs do you need? So if you want to increase revenue, you got to look at certain inputs like price adjustments, cost management, increase your customer base. If you want to achieve efficiency, you're going to look at things like process management, process optimization. Okay, but now I just need you to reflect. How are you doing performance management system in your organization? Just reflect for a bit. How are you doing performance management in your organization? What we look at as we begin the journey for performance management is that your activities are connectors between your input and your output. Therefore, your activities must be guided and guarded. So riding on the example of the car, we said the car is a whole system. And even if it's a whole system, it must still be steered in the right direction, because if not, it can go anywhere. So when you're driving that car, you follow the speed limits, the road signs, etc., etc. And the activities towards achieving your organization goals must also be guided. Okay. How do you then get things done? How do you guide and guard the activities and tasks that people undertake in your organization? I've got this three-step process that helps us look at how we connect our activities and inputs to get the desired outputs. When we speak about transforming inputs into outputs, for example, we're talking about what must underpin the actions that people undertake. It's processes, policies, and procedures. And we've helped many clients set up business functional processes and procedures. For example, we help clients with procurement processes, HR policies. We also help with finance policies. This is all in attempt to make sure that when an organization is transforming its inputs, and the employees are playing in that field, they are guided by a standard way of doing things in an organization. Why? Because we are positioning them to be successful, and we're leaving no room for argument when we come to performance management. So you have to be very clear on what your processes look like, on what your procedures look like. And then when we come to getting things done, we're talking about execution, and that's key. The other aspect that many organizations fail at is integrating cross-functional teams, collaboration across departments, promoting integration and communication, breaking down the silos. For performance management to be effective, people must work across functions. Let me give you an example. If the IT system is down, as an example, it will obviously impact somebody who is resolving customer queries, which will negatively impact the customer satisfaction rate, which will negatively impact the overall organization of a good customer satisfaction score. So can you see that just in this equation, by just IT not doing their work, there are three departments or three individuals that are affected in the performance management system. And that's why we say performance management system is a holistic approach that the entire organization must undertake. One critical thing that you need to embrace in your performance management system is understanding the difference between establishing and setting expectations. Establishing expectations for people who are going to deliver KPIs that will lead to you achieving your organizational goals, or setting expectations for those people. Let's move into the practical aspect of this, and let's just have a look at the difference. And I'm going to ask you which one you think is going to be very effective. Okay, so we've got establishing expectations and setting expectations. I'm sure you're already thinking about which one will work better here, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to ask you to engage me on this one. We'll just go straight into it, okay? Establishing expectation involves a collaborative approach. It also places personal ownership on the person that you're establishing that expectation with. For example, if I'm sitting here with Ruzi and we're trying to develop Ruzi's KPI, when we are establishing expectations, Ruzi and I will agree on whether that KPI is really achievable with the resources that we're giving him, with the support that we're giving him. On the other hand, setting expectations is directive. I sit and I say, Ruzi is the marketing guy, he's gonna have to do this. And then I submit to Ruzi, listen, this is what you're gonna do. I want you to think about which of these two approaches is going to be effective at the end of the day in your performance management system. And I also want you to think about how you're currently doing it. The other thing that, the other difference between establishing expectations and setting expectations is that establishing expectations requires both parties to engage in a dialogue to ensure alignment. I think I just gave an example there. And on the other hand, top-down setting expectations really comes down to top-down manager defining what success looks like and then passing it on to the employee. The last differentiator between establishing expectation and setting expectation is that when you establish expectation, you are creating a shared understanding of the performance standards that you need, the goals, and the behavioral norms. On the other side, it's more directive, more managerial oriented. So at the end of the day, when are you likely to get the desired results from your performance management system? I'm sure you can answer that. I'm not going to ask you to answer that. What are some of the common strategies that are used in establishing expectation? We all know about the SMART criteria. It must be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Then we all know you need to do regular check-ins and updates. We all know you also need to create an expectation document. Now, for some of you who haven't done this yet, or you haven't developed an expectation document, it's a document that serves as a reference for both yourself and the employee in providing clarity and reducing ambiguity in responsibilities. And then, of course, there's an element of training and providing resources for employees. That is a no-brainer, we all understand. So these are some of the strategies that you use when you're setting expectations. When I started, I said, in the short time that you're going to be with us, you will go out with 1 point or 1 experience. So now I'm going to go into a tool that has worked for us, that has worked for many of our clients, that has even worked in my personal life as I set expectations with people in different spheres of life. Now, this is a model called PACE, P-E-C-E, PACE. You know, more like you're setting a pace at which you must run this race. This morning I went jogging with my son, and he was going a little fast, and I said, "Hey, dude, you're leaving me behind." Then he said to me, "Mom, just set your pace. Know why you are on the road." So pace is a model, simple model, but very, very powerful and effective that you can use to establish expectations. Let's go into each of the components of this pace model. P, it's the purpose. For every KPI, managers and leaders, you need to define the why behind the task. Let me give you an example. We've got a KPI to increase customer satisfaction scores by improving response time in support tickets. What is the purpose? You need to have a purpose explanation. The purpose explanation for this example that I've given you would be something like boost retention, customer retention, by resolving issues faster. And this directly aligns to client retention of the overall organization by 20% this year. So can you see, by you defining the purpose of that KPI, the individual already begins to align themselves to the bigger organizational picture, because you're saying what you're doing will fit into the bigger picture like this. Okay, moving along, achievable. Achievable is ensuring that the task can be accomplished within the available resources, skills, and time. Sometimes we kill the workforce by giving them too much without really looking at, is this person skilled to do this? Do they have enough time to complete this exercise? Let me give another example of a KPI and how you must put in an achievability check. Reduce ticket resolution time by 10% over the next month. Your availability check could be along the lines of something along the lines of, based on the current staffing and the technology that we've given you, this is achievable. So you can streamline ticket responses using automated templates. Moving along to C, clear. Remember, we're looking at a strategy that you can use to establish expectation. And we said pace is one of them. We've covered the purpose, achievability, and now we're looking at clarity. Now, clarity is all about providing clear, specific expectations on how the task must be performed. For example, you say something like, the KPI can read something like, handle 25 support tickets daily with an 85% satisfaction rate as measured by customer feedback. Now, that leaves no room for argument. The person who is going to execute on this KPI knows that they must handle at least 25 support tickets with an 85% customer satisfaction. And that customer satisfaction rate must come from the customers. And there, when you're providing that clarity, you also need to have a clarity statement. And that could go something like, ensure that each customer receives a follow-up email within 24 hours of ticket resolution. Can you see how we are building a system that leaves no room for argument? A system that positions the individual to success as well as the organization, the individual to succeed as well as the organization to succeed. And then we move on to the last bit of the PACE model. And this is evaluating. Or evaluated. So this is all about establishing a clear method for evaluating performance and checking in regularly. If we get another example of a KPI and how we can use the E in this model, you could say your progress will be evaluated weekly, and we will review the average responses and customer satisfaction scores. So the individual knows that every week I'm going to sit with my manager, I'm going to sit with my leader, and we're going to evaluate my progress. Remember, it's not we're going to see how you're performing this task. We're going to check you out. No, we are checking the progress. And checking the progress can mean anything. It can mean, okay, we've just discovered that the time that we gave for this task is not sufficient, or the resources that we put down for this KPI are not sufficient. So as a manager, as you go through this process, you begin to unearth insights on how your employees carry on their day-to-day tasks. Now, here is how PACE at work looks like at Brendmo. We have individual scorecards that have a clear purpose, that have accountability embedded in it, that have how we regularly check on each other every month. We sit and the leaders will sit with their teams and their team members, and they'll go through the progress for the month. Now, what that does is it removes lag in performance. You don't want to leave the check-ins with your teams and with your teams towards achieving the goals, because if you leave it for too long, you might find that there are a lot of things that have happened, and correcting those things might just be a problem. So you can see that we are now painting a picture where performance is an enterprise-wide construct. Every individual in the organization has to play a part. The desired outcome will only happen to the degree that the executors are first clear about what they need to do. They are clear about the activities that need to go in. They can connect, most importantly, and relate what they do on a day-to-day to what the organization is trying to achieve. They can see themselves in that bigger picture. You don't want employees that are lost in translation. They don't even know where they fit in. So your performance management system must be applicable for everyone in the organization, including the person that makes tea for you, including the person that keeps the offices clean, including the person that does the errands. It must also fit into your strategy, your operations, and values. If you could just allow me and indulge me a little bit on the values. Many companies have values, but if you ask them, how do they actually translate those values into a performance management system? They go, yeah, values, everybody knows that they must behave in a certain way. But no, those values must actually translate to a measurable KPI. If you say we are accountability partners as a value, what does that mean? How are we going to measure that Ruzi, that Kuzai, that Tendai, that Carol is being accountable? There has to be a measure. So everything that we do in the performance management system needs to be clearly defined in a way that we can put a number on it and it leaves no room for argument. I said that accountability, when I showed you the performance management equation, input, activity, output, underlined by accountability. Accountability is the glue for performance. Let's just look at the definition for the dictionary definition for accountability. And I want you to note the words in red. So the dictionary defines accountability as subject to, having to report to, explain or justify. Pause. When do you usually hear the word accountability? When things have gone wrong, right? But in an effective performance management system, we are advocating for a proactive accountability, and therefore this definition that we're seeing on the screen now needs to change. It can't be retrospective. It can't be justification or explanation. It has to change. Now, before we look into how this accountability definition or the way that we look at accountability needs to change, I just want to play this video. It's an old video that I stumbled across. It makes the point. The picture quality is not very good, but it makes a very good point on how we must look at accountability from an individual's perspective.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? Help! I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
No, well, there's nothing else left to do, is there?
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he can fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
Okay, that takes us to the new definition for accountability. If you followed that video, there's something that could have happened then. The elevator stops. The people don't just want to take the steps, walk the stairs. It was within their control. The elevator breaking down, the escalator breaking down, none out of their control. But there's something that could have been done, and that's the new definition for accountability going forward. And we've adopted the O's principle definition of accountability that says it is a personal choice to rise above circumstances and demonstrate ownership required, necessary to achieving key results. So the difference between the accountability as we know it and the O's principle of accountability is that in the O's principle of accountability, there's personal ownership that comes into it. The escalator has stopped, but guess what? We could actually walk the rest of the way. We're not going to wait for somebody to come and fix so that we take the smooth ride onto the flow where we're going to. So we're saying, in your performance management system, you need to embed accountability from a positive, principled approach where people in the organization take personal choices to rise above their circumstances. Going to give you another, give you something to go out with. Now, this is money in your bank, something valuable for free. And this is on the leadership side. What model do you use to instill accountability? And we use the ear model, ear as in ear model, listen. So establish, align, and recognize. We already spoke about establishing expectations. Do not set expectations. Establish expectation. Have a dialogue, agree, and align. Align on progress, regular check-ins, weekly, monthly, daily, if it calls for that, until people are fully aligned. And then reward and recognize and reward. Do not just expect people to give you everything that they have, and at the end of the day, you don't recognize them. So use the EAR model to instill accountability from a leader's perspective. Now, from an employee's perspective, we have a model that we call DARE, D-A-R-E. It's about deciding, acting, reflecting, and elevating. Deciding, the person decides that accountability starts with me. Acting, the person must be resourceful. When the escalator stops, you take the stairs. When you've got too much work, prioritize, bring in some time management techniques there. Reflect, what's working with this task that I'm doing? What needs to improve? What additional support do I have? And then elevate, learn from your own mistakes and your own setbacks. So we have a very comprehensive program that we take employees of a company to, we take employees of the company through to help them embed that personal ownership into what they do on a day-to-day basis. And this is just one of the things that we cover in those workshops. So remember, performance management is a holistic enterprise construct. It's not an HR exercise. It's not a managers or leaders exercise. It's not even an employees. It's everyone. It's how we set goals, how we put in activities and processes to make sure that we're executing tasks that will take us to achieving the goals. And so how do we as Brendmo help when it comes to performance management? I'll give you, we've got a very comprehensive system, but I'm just going to take you the simplified version of it. So the first one, we have executive sessions where we sit with executives. We look at the key results and division of key results. We take the leaders in the organization and take them through this leadership accountability accelerator where we help them understand how to establish expectation and equip them with critical skills on how to create a culture of accountability and hold people accountable in a positive, principled manner. Change the way people view accountability. And then we come and look at the employees. We also take them through this employee accountability accelerator where we help them align what they do on a day-to-day with the key skills. Now, these two workshops are very comprehensive. At the end of each workshop, the participants leave with not less than 6 skills that they will need to, that they will implement immediately in their work as they go back to their workplace. And then finally, we look at how we can now set individual scorecards. I showed you an example of how we set the individual scorecards. So everything that an employee does, if it's going towards achieving the goals, it must be measurable. And so we tie it together from the executives to the leaders, the employees, and finally how we can just manage each other and how we can measure performance and how we can correct gaps in performance, how we can give additional support. Okay, so with that, we've come to a wrap. And as you know, we only had 45 minutes, 45 short minutes with you. Would like to engage you more, would like to engage you further. And like I promised at the end of this, as I promised at the beginning of the session, was that we're going to give out some tickets to leaders that would like to attend the Leadership Accelerator workshop. We're starting these workshops next week, Wednesday, and we'll be holding them every Wednesday. Now, here's what we're going to do. Very quickly in the chat. Hazel, I hope our chat is able. I'm going to ask 2 questions, and the first 5 people to give us the answers will get a discount to the accelerator workshops. The accelerator workshops are going for 3,700, full day, jam-packed. But if you are one of the first 5 people that are going to answer these questions, you get a discount. And then also, if you don't fall in the first 5, because you've attended this webinar, you can use this discount code LAAW2024. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves. Here comes the question. First question: what are the essential elements of the performance equation? In the chat, we're not going to unmute you. You can type in the chat. The first 5 people to give us those answers get the discounted tickets. First question: what are the essential elements of performance equation, and what underpins performance? And with that, we've come to the end of our performance management webinar. I do hope that you've gone out with something, and we are keeping track of the chats. Keep them coming. The webinar team is on point. They are getting all the answers, and we will contact the first 5 people to give us those answers. Okay, I think with that, we've come to the end of our session. It's really been good spending this time with you. And like I said, I really do hope that you've gone out with something. And you can contact us on those details for further engagement with us. You saw the services that we're able to offer at the beginning of this video. Thank you so much. I'll hand over to our host to close us off in this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having time with us. If there are any people with questions, this is the time to ask questions. We are giving time to ask questions from the floor. Okay, whilst we are still waiting for questions, for those who want to connect with us, you can find us on 011-026-3052 or on 079-562-9638 or 083-246-5905. Or you can also contact us on our help desk on help@brendmo.co.za, or you can go on our website www.brendmo.com, or you can visit our offices at 7 Pioneer Avenue, Midridge Park, Midrand. Chat. There's something in the chat. Link to the workshop in the chat.
Thanks,
Okay.
Kuzai. We've got a few responses in the chat. By the way, the link to the workshop is also in the chat. We've got Yanni. He's given us a response. We've got Gertrude. We've got Naledi, and we've got Kuli. So I see we've got our 5 leaders who are going to get that discount. We will be in touch with you. Please, Brendmo team, just take note of that. We've got a hand. Are we able to take that hand before we wrap up?
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can unmute them.
Hello. Hi.
Good morning.
Yes, good
Hi.
morning. My question is it possible for us to get the PDF, the presentation?
Yes, you will
Oh,
get the
oh, oh, oh,
presentation.
oh, thank you. And another thing that I wanted to ask is, I'm a performance management intern here in City of Joburg. So I've seen that a lot of people have no interest in doing scorecards or in developing the PMS documents. So I wanted to ask, is there a law that's enforcing people to do the scorecards and to develop their own PMS documents? Is there a law to enforce or something that we can enforce or something? Because we've been trying. Sometimes I do individual training, like I go to someone and then I help them personally to develop their scorecard, because some of them don't have interest because they don't see the point of developing a scorecard. So I want to know, is there something that can enforce people to do them?
Okay, so as far as I know, and I stand to be corrected, but as far as I know, there's no law that obliges people to develop performance scorecards. However, Jose, if you listened from the beginning, we said that for performance management to work, it must start with the executives. The executives should be the ones to say, guys, this is what we want to achieve this year, and then cascade those objectives to the leaders, who the leaders must then translate those organization objectives into KPIs. That's where the point of establishing expectation comes in. Okay, the leader must sit with the individual, not you. The leader must sit with the individual and say, this is what the organization wants to achieve. This is how I think we should do it. And then you set the KPI together, not leaving it to the individual employee to set their own KPI. So if the whole performance management system is not being driven from the top and it's not being carried out by the leaders, it's going to be a very, very difficult task for the people who are tasked with ensuring that it happens. People like yourself, people like in HR. I was speaking to somebody yesterday from HR who was saying, yo, I'm always fighting with the leaders. They only want to have feedback sessions at appraisal times, which is, every 6 months. But in the 6 months, there could be a lot of things that have gone wrong. There could be things that could have been corrected. So, Jose, the essence of performance management system, and for it to work, it must start from the executives. Leaders must understand how to instill accountability into the workforce. And the individual people must also learn how to take personal ownership into achieving or into delivering on those KPIs. I hope I've answered your question.
Okay, we do have another question
Yes, you
from
have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
We have another question from Abigail Matuku.
Okay.
She's asking, how useful is the balance scorecard as a tool to measure the different organizational performance
Say that again.
dimensions?
Oh, yes.
How,
Okay, I get
how
it. I get
useful
it.
is the balance scorecard
Mhm.
as a tool to measure the different organizational performance dimensions?
Yes, so a scorecard is one of the most successful performance management tools that is being utilized by big organizations and even small organizations. So the superiority of the performance scorecard is that it covers several aspects of what an organization must look like. So it will cover the financial aspect, it will cover the customer aspect, it will cover the internal aspect, it will also cover the learning and development. So yes, performance management scorecard is a good tool because it gives you a holistic way to look at your organization. You just need to understand how you can make it applicable to your organization. For example, I spoke about having to assess the values. So in your scorecard, you could embed values as an internal perspective that you assess from an organizational perspective. So internally, as an organization, these are our values, and how are we going to evaluate our values? How are we going to make sure that people are living up to the values that we purport that we have as an organization? So to answer your question, yes, it's very useful. You just need to understand how you can make it work for your unique organizational environment. Thank you. Do we have any?
We don't have any questions currently. Are
Okay.
there any more other questions? If there are no questions, thank you very much for joining us. We hope you got helpful tips from this presentation. And you can find us. We are here for you. As we said before, we are accountability partners and we live by it daily.
Okay, thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and we hope to engage and interact with you further. From now, you will receive the presentation in PDF. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant day further and a blessed week. Thank you. Bye.